Hello, this is Coach Tim sharing with you total health, spirit, mind, and body, where we explore optimal health through nutrition, movement, recovery, brain health, and spiritual health. Hello, 我是 Coach Tim， 和您分享健康全方位，探讨如何借着营养、运动、修复大脑健康及心灵健康，让您健康最佳化。Lana, thank you for coming today and
thanks for having me.
Being able to talk about health. I know this is something very important to you. So maybe we can begin by having you telling us how you got into this health sphere and what's your story.
Yeah. So I was interested in kind of the medical field since I was really little. I wanted to be a vet. And then as I got older, that kind of changed to being a nurse and then maybe a doctor. So I went to school to become a nurse practitioner. And while I was in school, my son, who was 2.5 at the time, was diagnosed with leukemia. And so we just were launched head on into the hospital world and the mainstream medical world. And it didn't give me the answers that I was looking for. Like, no reason why he was sick. They told us when he was going through the chemo and then he was on steroids that made him really hungry, he would just crave like palmian, like crackers and cookies, and I'd be like, what do I feed him? They're like, oh, just feed him whatever, it doesn't matter as long as he's getting calories in. And it just, none of that sat right with me. I just thought there's got to be something different. And so we went through treatment with that. He's fine today, he's 21 now. But it just started the thought process through his treatment that if these people are spending billions of dollars on what they call healthcare and they can't even provide it, I just started questioning the whole process and thought there has to be something more. I think our bodies were created to be well. And that idea just stuck with me. So I started just reading books on nutrition and health, and it started slowly pulling me away from my schooling even, because I was mostly taught anatomy and physiology, disease, how to give a shot, how to take blood. And I was like, none of this is actually teaching me about health or nutrition or what our body needs. And so I switched up my direction quite drastically, I guess, into natural medicine and holistic healing and all of that. So I became a holistic healthcare practitioner and a nutritional consultant in 2017. Actually, on my 40th birthday was I got my papers, so that was pretty fun. And have been just working ever since. And I continue to learn. It's not like I have it all figured out by any means. I just keep reading stuff and keep seeing. And the best thing that I've noticed for education is just working with people one-on-one and just seeing where they're at, what their body needs, where it goes. And I love it. I'm fascinated by it. And I love to see people become well. I think when people are well, they're happy, their bodies feel good, they can think clearly, and I think that's the state we're supposed to be in.
So that's incredible. How do you end up addressing your son's leukemia if you felt like
well, I was so young at the time. I was 23. We were in the States.
Oh, you were in the States.
I was 23, and 23-year-olds know a lot, but they don't know everything. So it was just a really challenging time. I mean, we just did the chemotherapy and all of that horrible stuff to have to go through. And you know, he's well, but I think that there's some residual damage still to his brain, to his body, to his immune system that has been a challenge for him. Still, I think that as I learn, we're like, hey, let's try this out. Hey, let's try this out. And just kind of slowly working through his whole wellness. Yeah, it's taken a long time.
Yeah, I can imagine that, because I remember when my daughter was going through hers was depression, so she was on 5-7 different kinds of medication, right? And then when she overdosed, that was even worse. And so we're still dealing with some of the residual damage or just clearing out. Yeah, and then just like your dietary strategies, trying this and that, and then trying to figure out what works to repair.
And it's, when you go for healing or wellness, when you have that level of damage, I don't think you can ever go back to normal or go back to just doing or eating whatever you want. You have to continue to be disciplined. Maybe more so than someone who hasn't had that same level of damage. So even though my focus is, when I start with somebody, is gut health, because when you repair your gut and your digestive system, you have the chance now to nourish your body with good things. If that healing does happen, but it's almost like there's still scars. And so you can coat it with good things, but once you remove the good things, the scar is still there, and I think it still create some problems. But
so you said then you kind of switched direction.
And
you started studying a more natural approach to health. Yeah, so I guess then, and maybe to you, what will be the biggest difference that you feel in terms of the conventional approach versus how you are looking at things now in terms of...
I think conventional medicine definitely has a place. I think they can diagnose, they can do emergency care, they can do, like you break a bone, you want to go to, get that dealt with. You don't want to just take some herbs and things. Though taking herbs while it's broken is also beneficial. But I think for, dealing with chronic issues, chronic health issues, and just whole body feeling wellness, weight management, brain fog, like all these things that are easy to pop a pill for. We've been sort of ingrained in us that if you have a headache, you take a pill. And no one tells you that pill can also create more headaches or ruin your cartilage in your joints, or cause other types of inflammation in your body, like chronic inflammation. So we've been taught that those pills okay. I try to get people off drugs and try to just use food as medicine. It's very Hippocrates. He was really right about that. So I don't know if that answers your question or not.
Okay. Yeah, I think so. Because we somehow feel like, most people think that if we can just have some sort of pill or procedure and tend to look at problems very compartmentalized fashion. But I feel that a lot of times we forget that it impacts whole other systems in our body that maybe we're not even aware of.
The side effects are, I had pulled my back out a few weeks ago and never done that before. That was after having to be quarantined for 2 weeks, so I think it has something related. But so many people were like, do you need pain med? Do you need muscle relaxer? I was like, no, I don't need any of that stuff. I'm gonna be just fine. Like, my body knows what it's doing. It's working. I'm a little uncomfortable, but that's okay. We can be okay with that. A little discomfort brings us a long way into a long-term healing, I really believe. So we're afraid of the pain, and we just shouldn't be. We should just be okay with it and embrace it a little bit. It's hard to work out, right? It's hard to eat good foods. It's okay to be uncomfortable. And I think that's when someone starts going through some of my diet plan for them, I say, you will feel some discomfort. You will feel maybe achy in your body because you're detoxing, that's good. Be so thankful. That means your body's working and doing what it needs to do. So, yeah.
Yeah, so it sounds like food is a huge part of what you do.
Yeah, initially. I think when someone comes in who is unwell and they may have some problem, I don't just address the problem. I have to say, well, let's change the way you eat. Let's work on healing the gut first. Then let's see what's left over. So you got to peel the onion skin a little bit to find out what's actually left over. What's really the problem? And then after going through that, at the end you can see, oh, actually most everything's been fixed already. But maybe there might be something a little bit left over, and then I deal with that more specifically, which is more than changing food or through different herbal things or different types of fasting, and so that comes after. But for the most part, if someone is vigilant and stays through the program, will come out on the other side even more aware of how their body feels and what they should and shouldn't be doing. And then they're already like, oh, I actually feel better. I'm no longer having migraines, or my joints no longer hurt. I can't give a quick fix when they come in and say, oh, I have arthritis. What do you want to give me for it? I'm like, I'm not gonna give you anything for that. We're gonna first start with healing the body, lowering the chronic inflammation, and then we'll see what is actually still a problem here and what other steps can we take to make that better.
Okay. So you mentioned gut first. So why would you start there?
Why would you start with the gut? Oh my goodness. How long is this interview? No. So the gut, as you probably know, about 80% of the immune system is in the gut. Disease comes from, I believe, your immune system struggling in your body with being able to repair and to heal and to stay healthy from everything from brain fog to arthritis. It's all kind of interconnected. We're all one body. And so when you start to feed the body good things, you're going to take out the bacteria in there that is harmful, and you're going to replace it with bacteria that's good, which is part of the immune system, that then you can start functioning and doing its job. Other parts of it would include some level of fasting, so that there's the appropriate cell death and regeneration for healing in the body. That's also part of the gut health. I do focus a lot on food elimination, so we start with very gently cooked food, so not burnt, not fried, that are already almost pre-digested, so like fermented foods and even like grass-fed beef or something. That sounds like, oh, that doesn't sound like a super healthy food. But if you understand the cow itself, they have a couple stomachs, and when the food is digested through those stomachs, you're ending up with a pre-digested food basically when you eat the meat. And so it's actually very gentle in your body, and you're getting all the nutrients from whatever the cow has eaten. It should be eating good food like grass. So you're getting all of that nutrients in there. And so you're not putting anything in your body that's going to cause damage then to your gut lining. When you cause damage to your gut lining, it destroys the part of the intestines that absorb nutrients.
Yeah, that's right.
And so when the food, even good food, goes in, if you've destroyed the part of that that's supposed to absorb nutrients, you're not getting any nutrients. So until there's healing, if you eat good food, it's not going to do a whole lot of good. Or if you take supplements, like, oh, I take my daily vitamin, it's not actually going into your body because your gut is damaged and is unable to absorb those nutrients into your body. So you have to start there. I think you have to start there to take the next step into health, into fitness, into all of that. ground zero.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, definitely my experience as well. Even working, just doing neurofeedback, I find that the clients who are willing to address their digestion do a lot better. Yeah, their neurofeedback, their gains is they can have more gains and also better maintenance. Yeah, so it's definitely huge. Yeah, but then that's also most people's problem nowadays, right? Because just our dietary practices, probably also stress, things like that.
Sure.
So in your experience, what have you seen as to be something that is very commonly practiced that is quite damaging to most people?
Oh, hands down is processed foods.
Okay.
Yeah. Processed foods. 7-Eleven. Their tea eggs are good. Processed foods, 100%. Okay. So my focus is traditional foods, you could call it, where you're kind of going back to how our ancestors ate, how they preserved food, how they cooked it, how they ate it. You know, we look back like, oh, we're living longer, we're doing all these things, and it's just not true. The data doesn't support that. And there are cultures in the world that do live over 100, often. And they're fishing and hunting and gathering and eating, and they don't have tech, and they focus on family. You know, they're lowering their stress. But by far, it is the quick processed foods. Sugar, I think people don't realize how much sugar they're having in a day. If you can imagine, you know, you even go and buy a box of juice in 7-Eleven, think, oh, it's vitamin C, and you don't realize there is as much sugar in there as a can of pop. So you're not getting, you're like, well, it's better than pop. I'm like, not really. Like, if you're having that much sugar, it's pretty damaging to your gut, to your body, to all of that. We shouldn't just be burning sugar in our bodies. We should be using fat as a source of our energy.
Okay, so processed food. Sugar. And I know you could throw in like wheat and dairy, but it's a very specific kind of wheat and a very specific kind of dairy. If you have dairy, having raw dairy is superior by far. It's kind of hard to get.
Very impossible to get. But there's an enzyme in there that helps our body digest the protein. That when it's cooked out of it, you don't have it. So there's a lot of lactose intolerance, I believe, because the enzyme is missing. We should be drinking that with enzyme. But then you can go hard cheeses and kefir and yogurt and things like that, where that culture in there eats up that lactose, and so you end up with a better product that actually helps to feed your gut, like your good bacteria in your body. So there's even health benefits to that. But main, like the processed cheese, the slices that you that's not even food. Like, don't eat that. That's not even cheese. I don't even know what that is. It's probably like oils and vegetables and stuff. And then wheat is, I'm sure people have heard with the gluten in wheat is harmful. And again, sourdough bread, traditional wheat grains, all of that is going to make a huge difference whether you can eat or not. Say, well, people have been eating bread since the beginning of time, and while that's true, our bread looks very different now than it did 200 years ago. It's not the same bread. It's not the same thing. So I know that there's a few places that have good traditional sourdough fermented bread, but it's harder to find. So make it yourself, I guess, is a good start.
Yeah, I definitely know. I mean, because when we pick what kind of flour to use in our bread, that makes a big difference as well.
I don't know all the names of it, but my husband is pretty gluten intolerant, and he can eat the French flour, no problem. And I know it does have gluten in it, so I don't know enough about it to know why the difference is so great, but I do know he can, and that's what he cares about.
We end up choosing French because in Taiwan there's a lot of bread flour. They said it's for French bread, but that's more to make the style in terms of French style bread, not so much flour from France. So we end up picking flours from France because we know that a couple of things. One is I think their wheat species is actually a little bit different.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, and the other one is that their glyphosate standards are much more stringent.
Okay. Yeah.
So in Taiwan, usually they either import grain and then they mill them.
Yeah.
So it depends on where the wheat is coming from. Like if it's from U.S., from China, the glyphosate contamination is very high. So that usually will trigger reactions.
Oh, interesting. A little combo of those. Yeah.
Yeah.
And do they? Well, you had also the preservatives added and all that as well.
Yeah,
for the store,
a lot of flour
like,
have conditioners added.
Yeah.
Yeah. Too.
And then what about? Do they add? Do you know like bromate or bromine in the flour in Taiwan? Do you know?
Probably, a lot of places use a variety actually conditions. Depending on what type of bread do you want. The Japanese very soft. Do you want it to rise a certain way?
Okay.
Yeah, so they add all kinds of conditioners according to the type of bread that you want to make. Yeah, so we try to avoid that.
Yeah, just avoid that. Yeah. Buy a good flour, use your ingredients.
And then you grow your own yeast to ferment it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd like to learn one day. I make sauerkraut and I make kefir and yogurt and all that, but I have not learned the art of sourdough yet.
Yeah, it's pretty time consuming.
Yeah.
It's so long.
Yeah.
Okay, so gut health and then take out some of these harmful processed foods, added sugar. What about fats?
Real fats, good fats, non-processed. Not processed. I say, you eat anything, like if you just want one rule, like don't tell me what I can and can't eat, just give me one rule, is eat food in its original form. End. Okay. That's it. So fat is naturally formed from animals, so like tallow and other like the goose fat is also pretty good. But anything that's just you don't have to go through a process to get the fat. Coconut oil is also, you don't have to go through a process to get, traditional way to make it is they just cut the coconut up and then they soak it overnight and the fat comes to the top. I know avocados is pretty natural. It's just centrifuged, it's just spun and the oil comes out. But if you're talking about canola oil, if you went to a canola oil plant and you watched how the oil was made, you would never eat it. The body doesn't see it as food. It's highly inflammatory. You can't digest it. I think that it's a huge contributor to a lot of health problems. So when you go to eat out, you can pick, well, I'm just going to eat some vegetables and I'm just going to eat the chicken or something, but they've just cooked that in vegetable oil. So, oh man, you just, how do you do it? You have to do your best. You have to do your best. And I think when in places you can control the food, eat the most of that. And if you have to go out, your body, if it's healthy, can manage that a little bit easier. But if that's all you're doing, you will start falling apart. There's just no way around it. So, palm oil is a pretty natural process as well. Did I forget any of them? I think that might be all of them. Olive oil. Yep, olive oil. Yeah, that's a good one too. I don't cook with olive oil. It has a lower heat temperature. Some people would say yes, some people say no. I just don't do it. I mostly cook with animal fat and coconut oil. So when you cook like crock pot, some lamb or something, then there's a nice fat comes off the top. You scrape that off and save it to the side, and it makes any vegetable taste amazing.
We do that with lard. Pig oil.
So that fat is huge. Your brain is 25% cholesterol. It needs fat. When you don't eat fat, your body will make it, but it has to work very hard to make it. It's especially challenging for your liver when you're not eating enough fat, because your liver has to work really hard to make it for you. So I say just give your body some extra love and
that's right.
don't stress it out. Give it some fat. You need it for your skin, your joints, your cell integrity, your brain. All of those things need good, real fat that is made, that is formed naturally. That was taken away from us, and we got to get it back. Stop the vegetable oils.
Or the low-fat foods.
Low-fat foods are all high-end sugar. We've been ingrained, I think from the 80s really was a big, huge go fat-free, and they're eating candy that's advertised as fat-free, as if that's going to be good for you. It's so detrimental to the body.
I remember there was a time, maybe when I was still back in the States, and then it's all the low-fat stuff, so we're like eating egg white omelets. Now thinking back,
no flavor.
Why would we do that?
Why would you do
it's
that?
Really the best stuff.
I know. I know there's such a fear in cholesterol, and not realizing that cholesterol is not actually the problem. And it's cool to see right now. I've been reading some medical journals recently where it's starting to surface. That's starting to surface. That okay, this isn't a problem, but it's been since. I mean, it's really pushed since the 1950s. That fat causes heart disease and all these other problems, and they're realizing it's just not true. Simply put, it's just not true.
So for the clients that you work with, I guess generally, I think you talk a little bit about how you approach it already. You try to address gut issues first. So maybe you can give us some examples of individuals.
People. So I've worked with a guy who had MS. I say had because he's no longer on any medication. And he was almost wheelchair bound when I started with him. Took about 3 years, and he can now put in a day of work, like manual labor work, not just walk. Like he couldn't walk up his driveway level. He was really not well, like his lips were blue, like he was really shutting down, his body was shutting down. And they were vegetarian. And I was like, well, first of all, how willing are you to change the way that you approach food? And they were like, we'll do whatever at this point. It had been years. So that was really cool to see. Arthritis is a big one, joint pain. Again, there was a woman and she couldn't hardly walk, so she couldn't do a whole day out with her kids at an amusement park or whatever without having need a wheelchair or something. And now no pain and can get up and move around and feels, I mean, she's an elderly woman and had suffered for many years. So it's not like she's jumping around and doing jumping jacks in her 70s, but she feels good. And her mind is clear, and she's very careful about eliminating sugar and wheat and stuff in her diet. Allergies, I've had kids with allergies. Shellfish was one. Another one was nuts, all nuts. And very allergic to peanuts specifically. Needed an EpiPen for that, just in case, like carried it with her. And I was unsure if, I thought, well, we could probably help at least the sensitivity level. But she can actually eat peanuts now. She doesn't like them, and I tell her don't eat them, but but doesn't have to be afraid of a peanut showing up in her food or something like that. What else? I've worked with people with diabetes type 2, just managing their diet so that they don't have to take insulin any longer. They're not insulin dependent. Who else have I? And cancer is definitely a passion of mine. So how to nourish the body there. Not give them palmian and cookies. Cancer is a huge study of mine right now. It's controversial, right? But still, nourishing the body and giving your body what you need makes a huge difference.
yeah. I mean, even the conventional treatments, you still need your body's natural healing capacity to come back.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so.
Yep. You can use both, being able to feed and nourish your body for health, and healing is such a big part of our body, our makeup of our body, you know.
Yeah, I know that in just even in Taiwan, there's so many more people with allergy issues. At BOSKE recently, a lot of people found out about our gluten-free bread. So it's, but personally, I feel like it would be better if they actually address the underlying issues.
Sure.
So they can eat sourdough,
exactly.
which is, I think is in fact
way better
than the gluten-free bread.
Yeah, definitely.
So gluten-free bread is still relatively high refined carbohydrates.
Yeah.
So I mean, my glucose response is much better with sourdough bread than the gluten-free bread.
You tested both, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I think I saw those numbers. I remember the numbers, but
my CGM barely budged with sourdough.
Yeah,
but I know if I eat the gluten-free, because it's a rice flour base and tapioca flour base, it'll spike.
Yeah, the glycemic index is still very high.
But these individuals, they can't. The only thing they can eat is like just one mom came in and said her child is basically allergic to almost everything, even beef. So that was pretty amazing.
I've never heard of that before.
Yeah, so I'm very curious.
Well, it could be the
grain-fed beef.
Yeah, exactly. Because people do. I mean, that's some things I have read about is if you're eating cows fed wheat and you have severe wheat sensitivity, you also cannot eat that beef. Yeah. Goat is usually safer in general from what I've heard because they don't do so well being abused like a cow. And so they will naturally eat better, have to eat better food, and then you have a better product, lamb or a goat, whatever. But
if she comes in again, I'll tell her that.
Yeah, that's interesting. So will he eat fish?
Yeah, we didn't get into a very detailed conversation.
Man, being allergic, I want to know now.
Because mom just came in to buy some. She asked what's the best. She asked, no egg, no dairy, no sugar. Yeah, so we have a vegan version of gluten-free. It's because no egg, no dairy.
Yeah.
So that's
that's rough.
Yeah,
that's rough. Yeah, that's the thing. Where's the solution, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, you're allergic. Just don't eat that. Like, well, why?
Yeah.
And can you heal?
Yeah.
And I really believe that our body's natural state is to be well.
Yeah.
And we can get there. We can find it if we're willing. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer for some people. And sometimes you can't get to the point where you're ever going to be 100% because of the damage. But it's better than being 10%, right? Or 20%. So. Yeah.
Maybe one more question regarding food. Because I know that in Taiwan as well as in the US now, I think there are more and more people that are into vegan or just at least plant-focused diets, vegetarian diets.
Yeah, it's popular.
I know it's kind of a controversial issue.
Yeah, definitely.
Because we know that there are a lot of nutrients that are animal-based that are essential.
Yep.
Yeah. So how do you approach that when they're individuals?
I think the biggest thing I start with is fat. Is that our body's need for good fat, and you can get some of that from coconut oil or olive oil, but it's just not enough. It's just not exactly what we need. So if you look at the body under a microscope, we're made up in such a way that we're more like an animal than we are a piece of broccoli. So you have to decide, do you want to be a vegetable or do you want to be a mountain lion? And so when we feed it foods that are more like an animal, it's more appropriate, bioavailable, and structurally like an animal. If you eat a broccoli, you're going to get some benefit, but the amount of absorption and the amount of bioavailability and all of that is just simply not there. A vegetable is incapable of giving your body the building blocks that it needs to make a liver or to create lungs. Like your liver is remade every 3 months. If you're just feeding it broccoli, a broccoli doesn't have a lung. It can't help that cell.
Yeah.
And so you have to eat animal. And I think that the industry of meat can be quite bad. That's for real. The solution isn't growing more vegetables. That's just not the solution. So how do we eat healthy products? On both sides, to be honest. But if you're just eating vegetables and we're just talking about nutrients, it's not possible. It's not compatible in the same way. They make a list of all these fruits and vegetables that have all the vitamins and all these minerals and stuff. And that's great for themselves, but they're not accessible to us. And plants don't have B12, for example. Your body needs B12 for so many reasons. But it's a huge part of the immune system. And if a plant can't offer that, then some people do have to supplement. But again, unless it's from a animal source, it's not very useful for us. So you'll start to see, it depends on the individual's makeup, what their mom ate, what they ate as kids, that when they do become vegan, for example, how long they will be able to sustain themselves on that. There's a breaking point. I read this one woman said that if somebody tells you they've been a vegan for 20 years, then don't believe them because at some point they will have to find nourishment somewhere. It seemed like a drastic statement, but some of the people that I've spoken to that have discontinued being vegan or vegetarian say that it almost had to become religion because they had to make themselves focus on it. And once they started to eat, like some of them started with fish, they're like, I suddenly felt like all my cells woke up and my brain woke up and I had energy for the first time in such and such a time. Sometimes it comes out in the form of anxiety or moodiness or brain fog. And you know, when you're not well for a long enough period of time, you stop realizing or stop knowing what it feels like to be well. And so you're like, well, I feel great. Their great is not great. Their understanding of great, they've reached maybe a point that's not actually healthy or not actually really great. So it's hard, you know, we think it is very important to take care of our environment. It's very important to take care of our animals and our agriculture, and all those things are very, very valuable. So it's not diminishing any of that perspective or that desire or that compassion, but understanding at a nutritional level, you cannot get what you need out of a vegetable. That's just just what it comes down to.
The bioavailability, the conversion of even like protein.
Exactly.
We absorb much more of the animal-based protein rather than the plant-based proteins. I know that I've seen many cases in brain training. If you can give your brain the right kind of nutrient, you also respond and repairs much better. But if you you can do long sessions of neurofeedback and your brain can try to want to start to activate, but if you don't give it enough building block, it's still
difficult, very challenging. So that's something that you talk about when you do neurofeedback, or
generally I try to inform the clients to eat a certain way. Fats is critical. If you don't have enough fats, your brain just cannot work. So personally, I have tried carnivore diet for a few months, and I got into it mainly to address my kidney stone. It's and because before we think eating tons of vegetables straight. So I was eating like spinach smoothie.
Yay,
oxalates.
Like
yeah. So I ended up having oxalate stones. Right?
Yeah.
So I went on a few months of carnivore. So what do you?
What do I think of the carnivore diet?
The carnivore diet, kind of the other spectrum, the other end of the spectrum.
I think with the carnivore diet, it's important to eat nose to tail for all the vitamins and minerals. Liver is high in vitamin C, for example. Our bodies really do need a lot of vitamin C for our health. I think I do, depending on the health of the individual, would encourage some to try carnivore for 40 days. But most of my clients are women, because I'm a woman, and so I get women, and they're often the, caretakers of their family. They're cooking, they're shopping for the family. So it's sometimes unrealistic to recommend the carnivore diet to them. So it's not because I don't think it's okay or that I think that it's not a good idea. I think it is. I think that a carnivore diet makes sense. I do wonder sometimes if it doesn't necessarily make sense all the time. Like all year long. I think that we are seasonal creatures as well. And then things that are in season, then we have different times in our body where we're doing different types of cleansing and different types of building. So I think all that can be a cycle. So you want to be carnivore for 3-6 months or whatever. It depends on the person. I think that's great, and there's a lot of health benefits to that. Again, if you're eating the whole nose to tail body, so you're getting all those nutrients. But just as far as running a family and talking specifically, like, okay, let's talk about healing your gut. Sometimes after the gut healing protocol, I would say, why don't you try doing carnivore now for whatever? Or why don't we try this or whatever? But it is something that I do get asked about, and like, how can you just eat meat and it's healthy? And it is possible. It is possible. It's just difficult to do with a family. That's what it comes down to. Which is why I don't, like, wouldn't it be the first recommendation I would go to? If a person is very sick and a gut protocol doesn't do much for them, my natural bent would be to go towards carnivore.
Okay, that's interesting. Because ultimately for my daughter, she had, because of her overdose, her gut issue was just lingering. And it wasn't until she tried carnivore. So that's one of the reasons also why I got into it, because I told her, I'm going to try it first. And troubleshoot. And then you can try it. And then she being in the States, much easier. We can order meat. You
can drive to a farm. It's so
clean. Nice. So you can get all grass-fed stuff, and you can order even organ meats and so forth. So she actually feels the best in terms of her digestion on carnivore. I believe it. There are times where I would say, why don't you try carnivore for a bit? But it is mostly for a family, and a mom cooking for a family. The gut protocol is way easier, and especially in Taiwan, I think, is difficult and expensive. If you should try to get a steak, it's like 5 times more than if you were living in New Zealand. I'm like, I don't understand why it costs so much from there to here, but that's interesting. 3 months, you said, carnivore? I was on it for more than 4 months, and then I started to add some fruit back a little bit. I'm still mostly carnivore. I hardly ever touch vegetables. Like I'm like a social vegetable eater.
Right. Nice. I'll eat broccoli for you, but
but once in a while I'll add some fruit. I will add some honey. And coffee is about the only thing that I'm consuming. That's plant-wise.
That's a plant, Has it helped?
I feel that, the kidney problem definitely. Because the doctor was saying, it's going to take many sessions of those things blasting to get rid of it. But I ended up just doing one. And it was clear. It was clear.
if you're not giving your body the stuff that makes it, you're not gonna have it.
Yeah, and then the other thing that is helping is, in fact, my physique, my energy. I always had a hard time building, but now I feel like it's I can actually build some muscle. Joints are feeling better.
Yeah. Were you a vegetarian for a while? No, just low fat.
Yeah. And also high sugar when I was doing triathlon training before I learned about
that's
this.
The worst.
So I was pre-diabetic, literally doing triathlon, doing Ironman.
Wow.
So you can't tell.
And what we do to ourselves, right? What we think is, I mean, those athletes, they will have a heart attack. And like, I don't understand. They were so healthy. Like, what does that mean? What does actually healthy mean to you versus what really is healthy? Interesting. Yeah. And
then Yaya went on it. And her number one issue really was the gut, her digestion, which is never good.
And so no matter what you did for gut healing, it came down to carnivore, which is what, makes sense. Yeah. Cool. That's great. I think that I would like to try it. I like to do if I'm telling someone to try carnivore for 40 days, I should probably do carnivore for 40 days instead of just telling someone else to do it. But I need a freezer.
I actually feel that it's so easy because it's just right now, it's just Penny and I. We basically cook kind of for ourselves. And so I'm only cooking steak, which is super easy. And I feel like that's about the only meat that I can just eat a lot of. I cannot do a lot of chicken.
Well, chicken is harder on your body.
It
is harder on the gut.
And I cannot do a lot of pork either. I can do more pork than chicken. But beef is the only thing that I can just...
You could probably do lamb.
Goat, lamb is okay.
So any of those animals that have the 4 stomachs or the rumen are the ones that will make a huge difference. That's right. Lamb and sheep are okay as well. And even fish, I cannot eat too much fish. Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I just feel like I don't want it anymore.
Even a salmon?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It's very interesting because
that's really interesting.
We eat a lot of Japanese like sashimi. But still, I can only tolerate so much. And I know that's not enough protein, so I would still eat a steak.
Exactly. It's not enough. Wow, that's so interesting. I'll try it. I'm going to have to try it. I'll find your cow guy and then get carnivore 40 days.
And then the organ meats,
organ meats, absolutely.
Kidneys, liver,
good.
You can get bones.
And that's the thing. You have to... I believe if you're going to do carnivore, you have to eat the organs and the bone broth. You need all of that. If we just lost that, that's a very traditional food. When someone would go out and hunt a deer, they didn't just eat one part of it. They used the whole animal and they kept the bones and they kept every part of it for all of their needs, which is how we should do it. And it really, if we all did it that way, there would still be enough.
It's very nutrient dense.
Very nutrient dense.
I'll show you where the stall is. You can get spleen, lung.
That's awesome.
Everything.
Is that the one by the train station? Yeah. Definitely. I would like to go and just buy like half of the cow.
Okay.
And then have a freezer, so I don't have to think about it. That's what we did in the States anyway. I still have a frozen heart in my freezer in the States.
Heart, you can get heart.
Yes. Have you had a cow heart before?
Yeah. So I usually go and just, if I don't call ahead, I just get whatever's left over, whatever they have. But you can call ahead and tell them to save you a heart, some liver, some lungs, spleen. Cool. They got everything.
That's good. Nice. All right. Ramping me up, Tim. Go give it a try. It sounds so barbaric, doesn't it? A little bit. From what we've kind of been taught. Eat your vegetables and fruit. Now I'm going to go have a liver. Whoa. Harsh.
I can't believe how we used to eat before.
Yep, me too. Even just starting, 15 years ago. Very different. understanding more about the nourishment rather than just the carbs or just the calories. You know, those things are, there's so much more what that actually means than what I understood before. So, and I'm going to keep learning more too, so I'm excited. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Okay.
All right.
Yeah. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about what you do, how you work with clients, and what if people want to find you, how how can you help them?
Yeah. So I've been doing just through family or word of mouth or friends, word of mouth, people one-on-one come to me and, you know, say, oh, I want to talk about, I'm having some issues with allergies or I'm having something like that. And so I kind of do a bunch of questions and analyze their state, their level of health, and then get them on a diet to just, let's start repairing the gut and seeing what we can fix there first. And then when they're done with that, again, addressing some specific issues. I am just now starting to launch my own company for it. So I've only done consulting through either someone I know or through someone who knows someone else, like that kind of word of mouth. But I'm hoping to expand that this year. My website is almost ready. It should be done in October, probably sometime. And we'll possibly be able to meet with more people. The more people that we can get on the path to wellness, the better. Like we can all be in Taiwan, right? Change Taiwan. That's my goal. Small goals. Just 20 million people is fine. No problem. So that's, my time is limited because I have, a toddler, and just wanting to keep my family focus first. But as he gets older and I start starting business, I think it's going to become easier to meet with more people. So I really do hope to do that. I'm looking forward to doing that.
Okay, so you're mostly working with clients one-on-one then?
Yeah, definitely. I've done one health class, hoping to, I think it'd be great to do one a month, spread more love there. And I know that you and Rick and myself will be doing one in October. That'll be good. The trio. But I'm looking forward to doing that and just seeing where that goes, seeing where that leads.
Great. Well, thank you for sharing all these things as well as your personal story. I think oftentimes that's kind of our motivation in jumping into this field.
It is. I'm thankful for the experience. I wouldn't want to do it again.
No.
But thanks for having me. It's good.
Great.
All right.